Good afternoon to all. The first step to becoming empowered is to embrace your disability, said by Margot Ezel and Lederick Horn. And it is what SPED and inclusive education been doing, taking the first step to respect, support, and understand persons with disabilities. But first thing foremost, what is special education? What do you mean by inclusive education? Are they somewhat the same? Special education is practice of providing individualized instruction and support to students with disabilities or learning difficulties. It is designed to be need-based, which means that every student will have a different plan depending on their needs, abilities, and goal. Its purpose is to build the academic and developmental skill required to be successful and independent learners. Inclusive education, in the other hand, is the practice of educating students with disabilities alongside their peers without disabilities in the same classroom. Inclusive education is based on the premise that all students develop and learn differently. Inclusive education is not just limited to including students with disabilities, but is responsible for ensuring that their needs are met in the mainstream classroom as well. It helps build the capacity of teacher and school system. SPED in the Philippines started on 1908 where School for Deaf was established and inclusive education was officially adopted in 1997 by the Department of Education in the Philippines. In 2019 to 2020, the number of students ages 3 to 21 years old who received special education services under the Individualized with Disabilities Education Act was 7.3 million or 14% of all public students. The most common category of disability was specific learning disability. To conclude, special education is a practice of providing instruction to students one by one. Inclusive education means students with disability can learn together with a student without disability. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. So this is my speech for special education. Special education is not just a simple education where pupils and teachers can easily understand and communicate each other based in normal classroom setup. Special education is really something special where the pupils in this curriculum must take more attention compared to normal setup, where they should have enough special needs for their special capabilities and special provision for their different conditions. I learned from the past that children with special needs have many types, and these are the children with gifted knowledge, skills, and talents. From a very young age, they easily understand the lesson or can even advance their lesson and compete to higher year level. Children with autism, I learned that these kind of children are most boys and good looking and have a repetitive works. Cerebral palsy, these children have a muscular coordination. Children's exams that allows the student to demonstrate a mastery based on course goals, objectives, and the nature of curriculum, having an understanding of disability and the limitation caused by disability are essential when teaching to interacting with students whose learning styles are different from the others. Thank you and good day.
Advocate for people with special needs, you need to understand that special education encompasses many different diagnoses or issues. It covers a range of special needs kids, including those with dyslexia, ADHD, Down syndrome, and autism spectrum disorders. All children have the right to learn, with all children learning together in the same classroom. Inclusive education thus promotes successful learning for the child involved. We should foster a school culture of kindness and belonging. Also, respect for everyone despite their differences in physical, mental, and emotional abilities or color of skin. If you want a society that is inclusive for everyone, it starts here with the kids. It's not through legislation or youth programs. It starts with the parents, and it must start in the kindergarten. As we go along, ensuring access to quality education for all students by effectively meeting their diverse needs in a way that is responsive, accepting, respectful, and supportive to diminish and remove barriers and obstacles that may lead to exclusion. Thank you.
Education is about ensuring to access to quality education for all students by effectively meeting their diverse needs in a way that is responsive, accepting, respectful, and supportive. Students participate in education program in a common learning environment with support to diminish and remove barriers and amenity to a study a topic of his or her interest with no bias in the same of socioeconomic class, physical or intellectual disability by ensuring appropriate alternate modes of accessing educational material are in place which can assist them to learn. Inclusive education means all children in the same classroom, in the same schools. It allows students of all backgrounds to learn and grow side by side to the benefit of all, and also the students attend and are welcomed by their neighborhood schools in age appropriate regular class and are supported to learn, contribute, and participate in all aspects of the life of school. It promotes successful learning for the child involved. All children have the right to learn with learning for the child involved.
Special education and inclusion education are key to leave no one behind. Around the world, children are excluded from schools where they belong because of disability, race, language, religion, gender, and poverty. But every child has the right to be supported by their parents and community to grow, learn, and develop in the early years, and upon reaching school age to go to school and be welcomed and included by teachers and peers alike. Special education is a great importance for children with disability because it gives them the opportunity to get quality education in the line with their unique needs. Special education enables every student to gain a high level of independence and reach their full potential. Inclusive education values diversity and unique contribution each student brings to the classroom. In truly inclusive setting, every child feels safe and has a sense of belonging. Students and their parents participate in setting learning goals and take part in decisions that affects them. And student staff has the training, support, flexibility, and resources to nature encourage and support to the needs of all students. Children with disabilities should not be denied the right to have an education along with other children their age without disabilities in the same school setting. Although many people may not agree with the inclusion classrooms, others think it is a great idea. I will plan strategies and the collaboration and cooperative intention of all teachers, parents, and effort of the students, inclusion classroom can be successful over the world. Thank you.
All of us in this world, no matter we have a differences in life, disabled or non-disabled, difference in race, language, culture, and tradition, we all deserve and have the right for the quality education. According to Koch, in the article Special Education in 2000, that 1.7 million disabled children were not able to attend public schools until IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, was implemented. I am here today to inform you all the importance of special and inclusive education to the lives of disabled and non-disabled learners. Every child has the right to the same opportunities as others, regardless of the difficulties they face. Special education is of great importance for children with learning disabilities because it gives them the opportunity to get quality education, to gain a high level of independence and reach their full potential in line with their unique needs. Inclusive education provides a better quality education for all. It provides child's first relationship with the world outside their families, enabling the development of social relationships and interactions. It fosters a culture of respect and belonging and provides the same opportunity to learn and accept individual differences. Inclusion is better for all learners to bring them on happiness, freedom, and equality they need in their life. We hope that parents of special needs children will freely and assertively consult with such professionals about how best to provide for the exceptional children. Parents should feel confident in their own knowledge about their own children's need and strength, and feel empowered to advocate for their child's need. We, as a future educator, let's join hands together to bring hope and light to educate our future learners that respect is the most important for all. A quality education for all through SPED and inclusive education.
Good afternoon, everyone. Special education, also called special needs education. It is designed to help the exceptional children, both gifted and disabled individuals, in making the maximum use of their capabilities to contribute their quota to the socio-economic development of the country. The children learn and acquire necessary skills for their self-help, independent living, and leading future life as properly as possible. To help them to acquire necessary social skills, emotional literacy, to live and participate in school, home, and community life as possible. Over the years, several innovations have improved the way special education is delivered. Assistive technology is the most visible change. Students with autism now use computer apps that respond to eye movement as well as specially designed software. Children with learning disabilities struggle processing and understanding information, which then affects how they communicate, write, complete mathematical equations, and data organizations. Certain mental health or behavioral disorders, along with autism, spectrum disorders, and attention deficit, hyperactivity disorders, commonly synchronized with learning disabilities. A major benefit of inclusive education is to give students and staff learning and teaching opportunities that reflect the wide range of contributions by rules open to people like and different from themselves. Inclusion covers all. Pero ma'am, that's all. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. I am Monica Nular, and today I'm going to present my speech about special education and inclusive education. Have you ever wondered how special needs students advance through school? Special education is a program which serves students with special needs. The ultimate goal of special education shall be integration of mainstreaming of learners with special needs into the regular school, and eventually in the community, to meet individual educational needs of the learners and to extent possible, prepare them for going to a more regular classroom setting. I have a cousin who have disability. She has meningitis. She can walk, speak properly, and even hold a thing properly. She's one of the unique child who needs special attention. 2 years ago, she studied at Palaka, wherein the school has a program for all the learners who has disability. Looking at her situation is very hard, but still, she possesses this positive aura and brings happiness in our family. How can we use inclusion in a classroom? The term inclusion means teaching students with disability in regular classroom, in general classroom rather. It is about giving equal access and opportunities and getting rid of discrimination. Inclusive system provide a better quality education for all the children. Also, school provide the context for a child's first relationship with the world outside their families, enabling the development of social relationships and interactions. It requires the teacher to believe that all students have something important to offer in the classroom. In conclusion, inclusive education and special education are based on different philosophies and provide alternative views of education for children with special educational needs and disabilities. And I believe that every child has the right to have a quality education and learning, and that we really are better of learning together. Thank you.
Everyone. Education is regarded as an asset that every students are looking forward into developing at school. But not all students have the same capacity and energy in dealing with school matters. Some may think that education is a mere tool in improving oneself. Yet, we have always think that into consideration that aside from being a tool, education could as well change our perspectives and remove the set boundaries from others. Difference would be nothing to an eager individual. Most often, we see school as only for us normal students, that able-bodied, yet must not forget that what's important is that education has no race, no gender, therefore no inequality. According to UNICEF, about 93 million children around the world have been diagnosed with some form of disability. Over 50% of the number do not attend school at all, which robs them of the right to be a better life. And with this, the two different education enters the normal school. The special education, the inclusive education, are the two practices that are relatively new to teaching and learning, yet are important in addressing and accommodating to the individual differences, disabilities, and special needs learners. Special education is the practice of providing individualized instruction and support to students with disabilities or learning difficulties. It is designed to be need-based and individualized, which means that every student in a special education will have a different plan depending on their needs, abilities, and goals. The purpose of special education is to provide support to students with disabilities and to teachers. Its purpose is not necessarily to teach class content, but to build the academic and developmental skills required to be successful and independent learners in the future.
Sometimes, real superhero lives in the hearts of small children fighting big battles. Good afternoon, everyone. Special education is a wonderful program in school in order to accommodate students with special needs. Special education, as its name suggests, is a specialized branch of education. Special educators teach those students who have physical, cognitive, language learning, sensory and emotional abilities that deviate from those of the general population. Students with disabilities have been present in every era and every society. According to Itard's description of the wild boy of Aveyron, documents a variety of behaviors consistent with both mental retardation and behavioral disorders. In 19th century, reports of deviant behavior described conditions that could easily be integrated as serve mental retardation and autism. When literacy became a goal for all children, teachers began observing a disability specific to task and setting, that is, less severe disabilities. After decades of research and legislation, special education provides services to students with varying degrees and forms of disabilities including mental retardation and emotional disturbance, learning disabilities, speech-language disabilities, impaired hearing and deafness, low vision and blindness, autism, traumatic brain injury, other health impairments, and severe and multiple disabilities. Some children with disabilities are often overlooked in policy making, limiting their rights to education and their ability to participate in social, economic, and political life. Children with disabilities are often denied the chance to take part in the communities, the workforce, and the decisions that may affect them. Inclusive education is the most effective way to give a children a fair chance to go to school, learn and develop skills they need to thrive. Inclusive education means all children in the same classroom, in the same schools. It means real learning opportunities for groups who have traditionally been excluded, not only children with disabilities but speakers of minority language too. That will be all. Thank you.
Special and inclusive education. Around the world, children are excluded from schools where they belong because of disability, race, language, religion, gender, and poverty. However, every kid has the right to have their parents and community to support them as they grow. Everyone gains when all children are educated together, regardless of their differences. This is the cornerstone of inclusive education. Inclusive education. Ma'am?
Please open your camera. Please open your camera. I could not see you.
Okay rin, ma'am?
Okay, go.
Inclusive
Check your audio also. Tap.
Inclusive education refers to a learning environment in which children with and without impairments are taught alongside one another on an equal footing. This differs from more typical methods to the education of disabled children, such as SPED model employed in the Philippines, which segregates CWDs into separate classes or even entire schools. Students and their parents are involved in the development of learning objectives and in making decisions that influence them. Teachers, families, and policymakers agree that inclusive system is a better strategy for children to receive a high-quality education and help to change discriminatory attitudes. In conclusion, the value of special education cannot be overstated. Children with disabilities can grow up to be productive, joyful, and fully functional members of society. Alternatively, they can fall behind and fall through the cracks. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm here in front of you to talk about special education and people with special needs. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Elmer Gabutin, Btvted PLT2A. Okay. The definition of special education is the education for children who differ socially, mentally, or physically from the average to such extent that they require modification by usual school practices. Special education is a vital part of the educational process that is frequently overlooked. Individuals with disabilities are stigmatized, leading to some to believe that special education are less capable of or intelligent than their counterparts in a typical classroom settings. Individual in special education, or on the other hand, are just capable of learning and evolving into successful adults. Until I enrolled in this course as a future educator, I had no idea how little I knew about the special education. This subject has influenced and shaped my perspective on special education, as well gave me a better understanding of what special education are and how I can better serve them. Special education is the practice of teaching students who require special attention due to their individual needs and differences. This form of education involved an individual plan and systematic arrangement that is monitored way of teaching. Also, it requires use of adaptive materials and environments and teaching settings that is accessible. This intervention was designed to help special need learners to achieve levels of self-sufficiency and success that are higher in school and general community. The most common special people has physical disabilities, learning disabilities, emotional and behavioral disorder, communication disorder, and development disability. Special education programs are carefully designed in such a way that they are customized to address every individual student's unique needs. These students are assessed to understand their personal strengths and weaknesses. Special education is important for children with learning disability because it gives them an opportunity to get quality education in line with their unique needs. Special education enables every student to gain a high level of independence and reach their full potential. Thank you, ma'am.
Every children deserve equal chance to enter in school, most especially the children with disability. They have a lack of privilege to study. Children with disability, being born with a syndrome, terminal illness, profound cognitive impairment, or serious psychiatric problems. Other children may have special needs that involve struggling with learning disabilities, food allergies, developmental delays, or panic attack. Special education is education that given to special needs people. They provide learning to support students in order to build their academic, developmental skills to become independent learner. It is designed to address the needs of students with disabilities, to let them guide by the teacher, to educate them on how to be independent. On the other hand, inclusive education is an effective way to give children a fair chance to go in school. They can interact with children with or without disability. They can study free from any of discrimination they may suffer. Through this kind of education, all children in the world can study without being discriminated. You and I are capable in this making. Every children have a fair chance in education. No one would be left behind. Disability is not a hindrance to become a successful person. It is only a matter of hard work and determination.
Having a disability can be one of the most marginalizing factors in a child's life. In education, finding ways to meet the learning needs of students with disabilities can be challenging, especially in schools, districts, regions, and countries with severely limited resources. Inclusive education, which fully engages all students, including students with disabilities or other learning challenges in quality education, has proven particularly effective in helping all students learn, even while challenges to implementing inclusive education system remains. It is thought that one-third of children who do not attend, or over 19 million, have disability. Despite significant increases in school attendance over the past decades and efforts to reduce gender disparities, children with disabilities continue to be left behind, with girls more likely to miss schools than boys. And when children are denied the right to education, they become trapped in a cycle of poverty and dependence. The goals of special education are similar to the educational goals for ordinary children. Only the techniques for attaining them are different. An effort is made, for example, to teach all children with special needs, except those unable to profit at all from school experience, to read. Children who have learning and mental disabilities required prolonged periods of intensive and more individualized instruction. For them, the learning process might include techniques to maintain interest, more active participation, and much more repetition of similar material in varied form. Thank you.
Good day to my professor, Ma'am Balisang, to my dear classmate. On this great day, I want to show you a speech on special education and inclusive education. All of us know that education is very important in our daily life. It is important because we need it to pursue our dream in life. While some believe education that it intellectual development, others believe that it serves more on social and moral purpose to help children understand society. Others view education as a commonly economy preparing child for future career. In year 2000, my birth year, 1.7 disabled children were not able to attend to public school until Individual with Disability Education Act was implemented. In terms of special education, special education is a practice educating students in the way that addressing their individual differences and what about inclusive education? Inclusive education is about learning a special child right. As far as what I have remember, the last 5 decades, some government attempts to provide the variety towards the education of children with disability. To all future education, be mindful that important to note that benefit of more inclusive educative system is extend to every single child. Of course, inclusive will benefit people with disability by including them, developing their capacity and empowering them to maximize their own development.
Imagine jumping out of a skydiving plane and discovering your parachute doesn't work. What memories would you flash before? Now, imagine the parachute opened. How differently would you act when you landed? Let's connect it in our cars. and with this subject. You are a teacher and your students have special needs. Now, before teaching, we must be prepared, before giving them knowledge and taking care of them. Special education subjects focuses for the wellness and betterment for those students who have special needs. We must be very considerate of our languages and actions. Having a disability can be one of the reasons or factor that change a child's life. Therefore, we, a future teacher, must find ways to meet the learning needs of students with disabilities. Yes, it is challenging, especially in schools, districts, regions, and countries with severely limited resources.
Students with physical, mental, emotional, and learning difficulties are taught by special education. They educate them, assist them in becoming more engaged citizens. I believe that is what special education teachers do more anything. In today's world, a high school diploma is required, yet many kids with special needs have difficulties in obtaining one. When students attend school, their general education, future educational experiences, and the likelihood of graduating, continuing their education all depend on their learning environment. It's worth nothing that the advantages of more inclusive educational system apply to every youngster. People with disability would benefit from inclusive education because it will include them, improve their potential, and enable them to optimize their own growth. Equally important, a more inclusive educational system will enormously beneficial to kids with disabilities. Good educational methods for children with impairments are generally good educational practices for all children. The ability to study at their own pace benefits all students regardless of their skills by teaching how to apply various methods of instruction. Thank you.
Nan goes, Nan goes to an inclusive school together with 20 other students, both with and without disabilities, learning and growing together in one classroom. He also attends a special education class for a certain period of his day, where he works on his communication skill. He feels heard, accepted, and included both, and really enjoys his time at school. How are his classes different? Special education is the practice of providing individual instruction and support to students with disabilities and learning difficulties. The purpose of this is not to teach class content, but to build the academic and developmental skills needed by the student to be successful. Meanwhile, inclusive education is the practice of educating students with disabilities and peers without disabilities in the same classroom. This requires a flexible curriculum to ensure that although all students learn and develop differently, multiple options are provided to students to reach the same goal. In order for both to be stronger and more effective, they must coexist with one another to help the student with special needs. Take this quote from Cherry Blair that says, "If every child matters, every child has the rights to a good start in life. If every child's matter, every child has the right to be included." And that is important for children with special needs. Thank you, Mom.
Hello, Ma'am. Good afternoon, Ma'am. Good afternoon, classmates. My name is J. Vincent Montero of Btvted ELK2A. Special education. Like what other people said, education is not a maintaining a high grade, but how the people gain knowledge based on their perspective. Education is everyone's right, and even special education can avail it. Children have special needs physically, emotionally, and behaviorally. SPED, short special education, and also called special need education. It is the education of children who differ socially, mentally, or physically from the average to such an extent that they require modification of usual school practices. The common students who studied here have disabilities such as dyslexia, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, and other many more. In this kind of institution, the teachers are more patient and understanding to their students because they need different care and attention. But beside from the situation, they are also willing to learn now new things, especially for how they can survive by themselves. Currently, about 2% of school-age children attend a special school. Children who are educated in special school have been identified as having a learning difficulty which called for special education provision. Special education creates a big help to children with special needs because aside from new things, it also made them happy and feel important in their lives. We should not down every special people because all of them have a purpose in life, which also can we benefit and by giving them proper care and attention. Especially in SPED, we should surely help to develop their self-knowledge. Thank you, ma'am.
As I awake today, I notice changes in our society. I can say that these changes are a good one, that the society accept and continuously developing these matters. And I am here to discuss and explain what are these inclusive and special education. But above all of that, I am grateful that we are here today to tackle and identify achievable and specific actions to accelerate our shared goals of accepting these both kinds of education. First, let's differentiate the inclusive and special education. Inclusive is the practice of educating students with disability alongside with their peers without disability in the same classroom, while special education is a practice of providing individualized instruction and support to students with disabilities or learning difficulties. These two must be implemented because of their importance. Inclusive education provides a better quality of education for all children, helping develop their social relationships and interaction in the school and outside world. Respecting and understanding grow when students' diverse abilities and backgrounds while playing, socializing, and learning together. And special education is giving them the opportunity to get the quality education in line with their unique needs and then enable every student to gain high level of independence and reach their potentials. And I'll end this discussion with a quote from Julie Coston. Students with disabilities have the rights to learn and socialize alongside with their grade level peers.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmate. Today, I will perform a speech about special education and inclusive education. Inclusive education and special education are based on different philosophies and provide alternative view of education for children with special education needs and disabilities. They are increasingly regarded as diametrically opposed in their approaches. This article presents a theory of inclusive special education that comprises a strategies of the philosophy. Values and practice of inclusive education with intervention, strategies and procedures are special education. Development of inclusive special education aims to provide a vision and guidelines for colleges, procedures and teaching strategies that will facilitate the provision of effective education for all children with special educational needs and disabilities. That's all, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmates. The National Council on Disabled Affairs, or NCDA, and the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, said that there are more than 1.6 million disabled persons in the Philippines. Currently, we are operating a total of 133 SPED centers across the country so that learners with disabilities and normal students are combined in one learning environment led by a general teacher. A diploma shows a level of our education. It is essential in today's life, but many learners with special needs still struggles to obtain it. SPED inclusive education must be supported by the community because it is essential that requires a lot of effort and participation from several people. It provides an opportunity to become socialized, independent, and achieve their dreams by maximizing their potential to have a better life. Throughout my extensive research on special education and inclusive education, and my observation to my older brother with special needs, I have gained knowledge and information about the impact of teaching learners with special needs and general education classroom. This topic is for everyone, not just only for students with disabilities and teachers, but to their families, friends, and colleagues. Most often, learners with special needs are put by their parents or guardian in common classroom due to lacking of SPED centers in our country. They do this to promote equality and diversity to learners beyond its differences, but they still struggles caused by their peers, teachers, and classroom environment. We normalize inclusive education. However, most of learners still can finish even their elementary level in a reason that they did not met the curriculum and educational tools fits for them. One of my example is my older brother. He is a deaf as well as mute by my but my parents still enroll him on a normal school. But the result of this was not good. It causes chaos between my parents and school personnel. It's not just about throwing disabled child into general education classroom without support and tools to meet their educational needs. SPED inclusive education is right of every learners with disabilities that provides equitable education for them. It needs a lot of effort and tools to effectively serve its purpose. The sufficient understanding by all members of the community, especially the family of learner, would serve as support system to reach its aim, that to provide a better quality education, opportunity to become independent, achieve their dreams by maximizing their potential to have a better life, enable them to develop social relationship and interactions, respect, and understanding to their peers with diverse abilities and backgrounds. SPED and inclusive education must be supported by the community because it is essential that requires a lot of efforts and participation from several people. It provides an opportunity to become socialized, independent, and achieve their dreams by maximizing their potential to have a better life. It's not about putting learners in a normal classroom environment without the curriculum, educational tools, and teachers that are knowledgeable enough to effectively teach them. Because PED and inclusive education promote not just equality, but quality and equitable education. This topic is for everyone, not just only for students with disabilities, teachers, but to their families, friends, and colleagues. That's all. Thank you.